Go, Kathy, and you are treating me very badly now. He says, I will get my revenge, whether you like it or not. That is why here he says, I do not perceive it. You are a fool. And if you think that I can be convinced or consoled by sweet words, you are an idiot. And if you fancy I'll suffer unrevenged, or I'll convince you of the contrary. So what does she tell him here? Kathy, or she tells him that she did not treat him. How has she treated him badly? So he says, she tells him, I have treated badly, and you are going to get your revenge on everyone or on me. How are you going to do it? He tells her that he does not want to get revenge on her. I seek no revenge on you. That is not the plan. You are being cruel to me, so leave me alone and let me be cruel to other people. He says, I'll marry on page 138. I'll marry Isabella if I want to. I'll marry Isabella. But if I thought that you wanted me to marry her, what does he say? I would cut my throat. Now, on this page, we have a very famous quote. He says, the tyrant grins down his slaves, and they do not turn against him. They crush those beneath them. What does that mean? Now, if you look at the picture here, let's imagine that Catherine, she is the tyrant and Heathcliff is the slave. So he tells her, even if you bring me down, even if you crush me, even if you do everything to me, I will not be turned against you. What will I do? I will crush those that are beneath, who are Edgar and Hindley. Those are the people that I want to have my revenge on. It is a very beautiful line. Now, however, if we look at it, this kind of relationship between the master and the slave, it is not a healthy one. Because the other day in the lecture, I told you that Heathcliff is like an imprisoned person. Now, when I say he is imprisoned, he is stuck and his ideas are around him. He's always thinking whether Catherine is there, whether Catherine is still in love with him, what should I do to get Catherine, how can I do my revenge, and all of these things. So in a way, he is a prisoner to his own thoughts. Now, to describe someone, to say that I am a slave to you, it is not a healthy thing. It is not a good thing. That is why here he says, I do not turn against you. Which means what? That in a way, Catherine controls Heathcliff. She has Heathcliff, she has his thoughts, and he is always thinking of her. Now, he says later on, we said that that's not the plan. Leave me alone. Let me be cruel to other people. He tells her a very beautiful, another quote, having leveled my palace, do not erect a hovel and complacently admire your own charity in giving me that for a home. Now, what is a palace? What is a hovel? Now, hovel is a small, dirty place, whereas a palace, you know, a palace, it's a very extravagant, exquisite place. And who would want to leave the palace for a hovel? According to Heathcliff, of course, because some people would want to be in a place surrounded like in this picture. Now, he tells her here, which means that now that I have raised my expectations, now that I want to marry Isabella, now that I want to have a Thrushcross Grange, now that I want to have the Wuthering Heights, do not tell me that you have built a hovel, a dirty small place for me, and you call that a home. Charity. This is not a home. He tells her, I don't want this. I do not want to have that hovel. What does he want? He says that he wants to marry Isabella. But then again later on he says, but if I thought you wanted me to marry her, I would kill myself. Now, they were angry and silent when Nellie Dean left them and went upstairs to Edgar. She starts to tell Edgar what happened, and Edgar gets very angry. Notice what she tells Edgar. Now, Nellie, have you seen your mistress? She tells him she's in the kitchen, sir. She's very upset by what Mr. Heathcliff has done. And she told him also about Miss Isabella and the argument that followed. He was very angry and went to the kitchen. On page 138, Nellie Dean tells Edgar, I do think it's time to arrange his visit on another footing. There is harm in being too soft, and now it's come to this, which means what? You cannot be soft all the time. You have to be fierce. You have to be like, in a way, strong and able to kick Heathcliff out of the house, to put an end to all of this suffering. Because the house was so peaceful before Heathcliff came along. It is as if Heathcliff broke the peace that was there inside Wuthering Heights. Now, again, as I told you at the beginning of the video, the love triangle, it's always Heathcliff, Edgar, and Catherine. And we can also look at it in a way, Heathcliff, Catherine, and Isabella now. Now, Catherine is torn between the id and between the what else we have, the super ego. You remember when we discussed this, when you cannot balance between the two, you become agitated, you become angry, you become a maddening person. And it is exactly what is going on here. The same when I look at Heathcliff, the id, the unconscious, because he wants to have his needs, he wants to have his wants, to be like to have them, to grab hold of them. And because he is behaving in this animalistic way. When you remember, if you remember when we said it in the previous lectures, how this side of him, he does not think of the consequences. He's always in the moment. Now, on page 139 and 140, we have here the confrontation, the quarrel between Heathcliff and Edgar. Sorry. So when when Edgar comes, he starts to confront Heathcliff. He tells him that you are like a poison in this place, and you have poisoned which is true in a way. He tells him, what notion of a property must you have to remain here after the language which has been held to you by the blackguard? I suppose because it is his ordinary talk, you think nothing of it, which means that the blackguard came along and told you to leave, but you took it as if it is an ordinary talk. You think nothing of it. You are used to this, and you want me to be used to such an ill gibberish language. Now, he tells him that he's been so far forbearing with you, which is true. Remember what I told you before, no man would ever want his wife or another strange person to come inside the house all the time. Now, not that I was ignorant of your miserable, degraded character. This is social discrimination, remember? Even though Heathcliff sought, so we don't know the means with which Heathcliff increased his wealth. We do know that Heathcliff now is a rich person. He is more dignified, according to the description of Nellie. He is more dignified. He's more he's a good, when you look at him from the outside. But according to Edgar, even if he tried so hard to, be a member of the society, he will never be a member of the society. Why? Because he has background. He was always poor. He is always gonna be poor, even if he changed and came back with more money. So he tells him, not that I was ignorant of your miserable, degraded character, but I felt you were only partly responsible for that. Catherine, he also blames Catherine, by the way. And he says, your presence is a moral poison that would contaminate the most virtuous. Which means, Heathcliff, you are like a poison. You contaminate, you make a good, healthy person to be a very sick person. You would poison the most virtuous, the most, like, let's say, a saint, and you would turn